Ladies and gentlemen, I have decided to take basically two topics and roll them into one because guess what? They are in fact linked. Now, guys, I've been working on this little manifesto of like policy that, quite frankly, I never discussed before. My actual feelings, of course, because I don't really discuss policy that much because, for the most part, we're oftentimes reacting to what happens in our society and, of course, what we should put a stop on or what we should not put a stop on. But at the same time, though, at the end of the day, it always comes down to policy. Now, guys, you saw the thumbnail and you thought to yourself, we're going to be talking about the midterms. Well, we're not just going to be talking about the midterms. We're also going to be talking about some of the things that have been going on here recently. Like, for example, I made a video earlier today and released it. By the way, today being Tuesday, I'm filming this video on Tuesday. I'm releasing it on Wednesday. It's a little bit longer take, which I hope you guys stick around for. And I released this video, of course, talking about why it is that Democrats or liberals don't exactly live in reality. We spoke about the George Floyd riots. Of course, we're talking about this little scene from The View a couple of days ago.
We may not like when Republicans win, but we don't go and we don't storm. We don't try to change, but we'll go to the court. We don't do that.
Did I miss an entire year of Antifa riots where cities across this country were burning and police cars were being firebombed?
I guess you did.
Your position is the left doesn't engage in violence? Really?
No, they wanted to nuke our friend Mike Pence. Like, how do we make sense of that?
You just accused us of doing something we didn't do.
Republicans win, but not when Democrats.
No.
And why it is that liberals can't seem to grasp the whole prospect that, yeah, there were riots in 2020. And, of course, there wasn't just riots in 2020. It was all kinds of destruction, all kinds of chaos, and which, by the way, a lot of this, of course, occurred in blue states. But I also made the point towards the end of that video, which, by the way, I will be leaving in the comment section of this video here. This is what happens when you don't release content for a couple of days. You got to kind of re-crank up the algorithm. And, of course, I discussed the fact that a lot of these liberals, they know exactly what they are doing. What they are doing is that they're trying to stick to a certain narrative. Of course, that narrative is January the 6th, of course, which, by the way, we'll discuss briefly in this video. By the way, I want to go ahead and let you guys know that after I got through making my video, just before I released my video, I went down the road and I actually voted. Yes, I went ahead and voted today. Of course, I'm pretty sure you guys have an idea of exactly how I voted. But I want to go ahead and let you know that just in front of the booth, just in front of the area that I went to go vote at, there was a whole group of, let's just say, you could tell that they were Dem activists. All the blue signs, of course, the typical stuff that you would normally see. Hell, there was even one of my county or my state's actual state legislative members. Yeah, a guy who's running for office. And I walked through there, didn't really say anything, and I walked out, and these people were, it looked like they kind of gave me a look, and I looked back at them, and I said, yeah, I just went in there and voted against all of you motherfuckers. And that, my friend, is the feeling that a lot of voters are having this cycle. You see, they're probably sitting there saying to themselves, you know what, since Joe Biden has been in office, we've had to hear about January the 6th constantly. We've had to listen to this old corroded windbag tell us to go get vaccinated constantly. We've actually wondered if he was in charge. At the same time, not only have we wondered if he's in charge, we've also wondered how somebody could screw something up so well. You see, when Donald Trump left office, the economy was actually recovering. The price of gas was actually down. So as Biden knew, he comes into office, he removes the permits off the Keystone Pipeline, and he proceeds to then turn right back around and make our lives a living hell with this inflation. Of course, it's not just Joe Biden, it's the people who are behind him, who are handling him, etc., etc., etc. And it kind of makes you wonder, were Democrat politicians this stupid, or did they intentionally go out of their way to absolutely ruin our lives? Now, guys, I could give you a whole litany of things that, quite frankly, have gone wrong, and a whole litany of reasons why it is that Republicans, at the end of the day, will completely maul them this election cycle here in the next week or two. But I want to kind of like just step back for a second and kind of look at the big picture. And what I mean is the actual Democratic Party going forward after this election cycle. So yes, the price of everything is up. The price of gas is up. People are upset. People want these Democrats gone, of course. And you got people who are a little bit tepid about Republicans. And of course, we've had these debates. You've had Herschel Walker go out there and completely clean Raphael Warnock's clock. You've had J.D. Vance completely destroy another turd ball and Tim Ryan. It just does not look good for Democrats. Of course, you guys are seeing this polling data, generic polling data. Of course, this right here looks almost like possibly an event close to 2010, that red wave there. Me personally, I think it's probably going to look a little bit like two separate other ones, like 2014 and 1994. Which, by the way, 1994 is something we're going to be speaking about. You saw the thumbnail, and you saw George Washington basically giving Joe Biden the middle finger. However, that middle finger is not going to be worth anything if, well, let's just say if people are not smart enough or don't exactly, let's just say they're not smart enough to catch on to the game that's being ran, which I'm about to explain to you right here. And don't worry, we'll get back to January 6th and the riots and the narrative because that's obviously a part of it. But I want to take you guys back in time, okay? The year is 1994. 1994, and don't worry, we'll be doing a video on Friday about why the Second Amendment is important, my actual personal policy positions there. The thing is this right here. In 1994, Bill Clinton, with the Democrats, they signed into law an assault weapons ban. And basically, it was a crime bill. Didn't really do anything. It actually locked up a lot of black people who, quite frankly, possibly could have gotten a long post-prison sentence. Actually kept them in there, extended their sentences longer. Of course, the 91 crime bill was just as bad, too. Joe Biden also helped engineer that one. So this is kind of like it's coming full circle. By the way, it was Joe Biden who came up with the crime bill in 1994. That's actually his bill. Joe Biden, of course, is famous also for Clarence Thomas, the actual inquisition that they ran on him. But those right there are another videos for other days. But the thing is this right here. When Republicans took back the United States Senate, they took back Congress, what do you think they did? They actually did their jobs. They went to work. They went out of their way to try to get tax cuts in place. You had a capital gains tax cut. You had a bit of an economic boom that lasted through 96 through about 1999. Of course, another recession came in. And you also saw some other pretty good things happen during those days when Bill Clinton was in office. Now, guys, that does not mean that I think that Bill Clinton was a good president. I actually think Bill Clinton was a pretty bad president, especially when it comes to foreign policy. However, when Clinton was in office, he governed as a liberal the first 2 years he was in, and of course, the country began to suffer. The American people, of course, they showed him how they really and truly felt by simply giving him the two fingers that you saw George Washington give Joe Biden earlier. I'm going to go put some people in there to counter this bullcrap. You see, people saw socialism coming a mile away. You see, the United States of America is a country right now in which both the establishment GOP, which, by the way, there'll be a video on that on Thursday, the establishment GOP and, of course, the establishment Democratic Party, the Uniparty, they have been trying to implement socialism for a very long time. Then, of course, this guy by the name of Barack Obama comes in and he completely accelerates the process. Need I remind you more? Then, of course, after, don't worry, we'll get back to 94, 95 in a second. Then, of course, now you get Bernie Sanders comes out and runs for president. He forces Hilary Clinton to actually run more and more to the left. By the way, she's out here running her mouth right now, talking out of her ass, of course, about how 2024 is going to be stolen, 2022 is going to be stolen. I think I know the real reason why that is. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But the thing is this right here. The Democratic Party got pulled too far to the left. The Democratic Party has been trying to implement socialism, basically death by 1,000 paper cuts for a long time, extremely small bites. Someone like Bernie Sanders came up and completely accelerated the process. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because other Democrats who ran the country in previous years were never this liberal. Barack Obama, of course, being the most liberal. Joe Biden, of course, governing the most liberal. But I think you guys know by now who the hell is really in charge of this Democratic Party and this Democratic Party machine. So the thing is that you have to understand is this right here. The Democratic Party long-term cannot survive if they govern very, very far to the left. They know that they cannot survive if they actually govern like a bunch of socialists or run on socialist policies. Okay, so what do you get? You get wokeness. Of course, the main thing that people are complaining right now, especially in focus groups, is that wokeness is actually killing them. This is one of the reasons why they're going to be voting Republican. Now, guys, a lot of these voters are voters that would typically tend to vote Democrat. They probably would want the Democratic Party back if it was the old Democratic Party. Now, me personally, I've always known Democrats were like this. I mean, just go ahead and ask me how I feel about that, and I'll give you a video at a later date that's probably about an hour long, how I knew Democrats were always this way. Of course, what I did not know was that the establishment GOP also had some bad birds as well, which is going to be talking about more in that GOP establishment video because there's a certain character that I think needs to be discussed in that video, but we'll get to that on Thursday. The thing is this right here, you have to understand. The Democratic Party, and I concur with H.A. Goodman, who has talked about this before, he stated that the Democratic Party was trying to, let's just say, pivot back towards the center so that way it makes them more electable. Now, guys, that does not mean that the Democratic Party going back to the center does not mean that they will actually govern as actual centrists. They will still govern as a bunch of radical liberals. Trust me, they still will. They just won't be as open about it. And, of course, they will be a little bit more, how do I say, like I was saying before, death by 1,000 paper cuts. they would do it in very, very little bites. The idea is to do very, very little bites until about 2030, and then they can actually implement that whole Agenda 2030 crap, which, by the way, I don't think has a realistic shot of actually getting implemented. We will do a video on that right there at a later date. So the Democratic Party, of course, who have been governing like a bunch of progressives, they see that the American people do not like progressive policies. Go ahead and ask anybody what the most important issue is at the ballot box, and what do you get? You get what? Inflation, economy, things of that nature there. Roe v. Wade is not important to everybody because not everybody in the whole world cares about killing a child at 9 months, which, by the way, is what the hell they've tried to codify. Also, something else, too, guns, of course, is not the biggest issue in the world to these people, either the most moderates, because they understand that guns don't shoot themselves. They had to take somebody else to do it. They'd much rather focus on mental health. You see, the Democratic Party has gotten away from the actual platform itself, and of course, they're going to pay for it this year at the ballot box. Okay, so while this whole progressive crap is going on, while you're draining the strategic oil reserve again, which, by the way, is basically, as I've talked about multiple times, on Gear Issue 33 is basically being caught between two stools. You choose to then go on a narrative about January the 6th because you had a little riot occur at the Capitol building. So you've got these people who watch MSNBC who believe that that event was actually worse than, guess what? 9/11. Apparently it was worse than Pearl Harbor. That's the kind of narrative that they're pitching because they are really and truly out of ideas and things to run on. So what the hope is at this moment in time is that they can get more moderates in, which, by the way, they're not going to be able to get more moderates in because they're going to get beat. So then the focus turns to 2024. And don't get me wrong, there's still going to be some type of chicanery. I'm not going to say it out loud because YouTube's terms and conditions and services, a lot of guys got banned for 2020 because of it. But there still will be games to be played. However, the question is that like Razorfist has said on multiple occasions, if you can get beyond the margin of where it matters, then guess what? Their attempts at this crap will not matter. So yes, you should go out there and vote your ass off. Yes, you should go out there and hit that button as hard as you can to get these crazy people out. However, there is a catch, which we will talk about on the other side. Speaking of January the 6th, let me ask you guys a question. How many people really and truly care about that day? How many people really and truly care about the whole attack on democracy? By the way, this country is not a democracy. It is a republic. It's a constitutional republic. You can make the argument it's a democratic republic. Chances are you're going to run into people, which, by the way, they branded these people as Trump voters, which, by the way, I don't even think all these people are Trump voters. But let's just go ahead and roll the footage one more time.
Was at the insurrection, and he was photographed breaching one of the restricted areas. Is that okay?
Which area? Because I saw a video where Capitol officers were taking away barriers and unlocking doors for people. So, I mean,
they opened the gates.
So it shouldn't be disqualifying for an elected official if they participated in January 6th?
He didn't strike anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
And the only one that died was a protester there, not a Capitol police officer.
An unarmed female veteran.
That's the only one that died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No. It was a stroke.
That's
not on site.
Caused by that. That's because he shouldn't have been a police officer. It was one woman.
So what do you make, though, overall of January 6th? I mean, watching that footage, it was pretty disturbing. I mean, there were people throwing excrement at the walls, and it was it's the Capitol.
It looked a lot like Antifa's actions.
Yeah, it looked a lot, except on a much smaller scale. It looked the same as the Black Lives Matter riots.
That's what I saw the similarities to be.
Minneapolis burns, Kenosha burns.
But so it's okay just because one side that you disagree with?
I'm saying Antifa infiltrated.
It's good for one, it's good for the other.
Anybody who harmed anybody who caused property destruction, that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
but if you're there making your voice heard at the people's house, no less, that's, again, it's a fundamental constitutional right of an American citizen. And people should not be being held political prisoner because of it.
For misdemeanors. That's East Germany.
That's East Germany.
Tactics.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
It was an actual fiery but mostly peaceful protest. And the other ones that were the opposite.
Was the protest legitimate in your eyes?
Administration, I feel like, is using it as their Reichstag fire.
Yeah.
As I said in the previous video today, the Capitol Police is never that nice. They let people in, okay? They've obviously scrubbed a lot of these videos from the internet. You talk about people say that, well, they threw feces. No, that there's called mud. It was a rainy, muddy day. People walking in. They can't, everybody stomps their feet on the ground to get rid of the mud. That right there is what the hell happened. Of course, it was a bad day. It was a scrum. It was nothing, quite frankly. It was nothing, quite frankly, to take lightly. But at the same time, though, don't you think it best to maybe arrest the biggest turds in the bunch instead of going after everybody? I mean, you got grandmas who got arrested. You got people who are still in jail. You've got people who have, of course, been given a slap on the wrist for trespassing, which, by the way, that's really and truly what the hell it was. And you have turned this entire spectacle into this great big giant event, of which that nobody really and truly cares about. Fact of the matter is, the Democratic Party, who, by the way, is weaponizing the DOJ in every chance they can get against their own political opponents. I mean, hell, they just locked up some pro-lifers the other day. I wasn't able to get to that story. I was dealing with some personal stuff. They're going after people for anything and everything, not to mention the fact that you've got ATF seizing solvent traps, of course, in the state of Florida, which, by the way, is very, very weird because people keep on telling me that DeSantis is pro-2A, but yet this incident happens in his home. That right there, by the way, we'll talk more about that right there in the next video. Fact of the matter is that the Democratic Party has completely lost their minds. They have absolutely gone crazy. They have used January 6th to the point to where people really and truly don't care. They have been numb. They've been desensitized. Dude, pay me my money. Just make sure I can go to work. Make sure I can pay for food. Make sure I can pay for groceries. And the people, quite frankly, are doing this right here to the Democratic Party right now. And that's exactly what I expect 3 weeks from now. Which brings me to my final 2 points. Yes, I went and got a cigarette while I was actually filming. Of course, I had to edit the clip itself. But here's the deal. The Democratic Party, as I said before, cannot survive governing to the left. You see, they need to have people like Bernie Sanders and them be like the minorities in their actual party. However, they don't seem to realize is that the current crop of progressives make up about a third of their actual party. So, let me ask you a question. These progressives, who quite frankly are also angry with Biden, especially these young people who didn't get anything, do you guys expect these people to show up and vote, or do you expect them to actually go out there and riot? I mean, let me ask you the question. I mean, me personally, I could see 2020 all over again after 2024. Not after 2022, because 2022 is going to be the year where I say, I kind of told you this was going to happen because you didn't actually pander to me. You didn't actually do the things that you promised me. You see, the Democratic Party knows that a lot of the crap that they've been trying to push and try to actually, let's just say, implement is completely unrealistic, and that other crap is unpopular. They spent the past 2 years appeasing the wokes, and what the hell has it gotten them? It's gotten them what's about to be an extremely bloody red wave, which, by the way, brings me back to Hilary Clinton. You see, there's a reason why I bring up 1990. There's a reason why I bring up 1994. It's the reason why I bring it up. Guys, right now, Donald Trump is matching up very well against Joe Biden. He's matching up very well against Hillary Clinton, and he's matching up very well against Kamala Harris in the polls. DeSantis is matching up okay as well, just not as good as Trump, okay? I'm showing you guys some of this information from IA polls because IA polls, of course, they track all polls. And, of course, I mean, some of these, of course, are old. We haven't had any updated ones, but you got to go off the information that you have. You see, the reason why I think that they may have actually pandered to the wokes is because not only were they trapped, but some of these people probably looked at the advantage of saying maybe we can save our party long term. Now, of course, Dick Hexenhammer, he disagrees with this. He doesn't believe that the Democratic Party is going to suffer as big of a loss to actually force them to change their platform. I kind of disagree. I think the Democrats are going to try to change their platform back to the more moderate platform, but nobody's going to want to vote for it because everything they did everything they've done since 2016. The minute Donald Trump got in office, what did they do? They started screaming and hollering. The riots, of course, you guys are looking at some of the photos here. This is the Democratic Party at this moment in time. This is who the hell they are, even if they don't want to be that. And the American people are tired of it. You see, my feeling is that, and I've been saying this, I think, in a couple other videos, the idea was for Joe Biden to then turn right back around and try to govern like a centrist. Hence the whole notion of Mitch McConnell trying to stymie all Trump-endorsed candidates. You see, Mitch McConnell in the establishment GOP is playing that exact same role. There could be other reasons for it, which, by the way, we'll explore a little bit later on. We'll definitely talk about it in the establishment GOP video that will be released on Thursday. But Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden, they've been friends for a very long time. They've known it for a while. Don't you guys remember Lindsey Graham saying that God did not make a better man than Joe Biden? You see, this is who these politicians are. The United States Senate is a great big giant boys club, and a lot of Democrats are saying, you know what, man, we need to just get the damn progressives out of here before they kill us and kill our party for good, forever. Me personally, I think the progressives have already done that, and I think that this effort is fruitless. But people need to explain why it is that Hillary Clinton is still out there running her mouth. You see, Democrats don't like Hillary Clinton, but they know that if she became president, she would, especially if she had to deal with a Republican Congress and Republican Senate, she probably wouldn't govern like a communist, and it would actually save their party long term. The idea is to have the presidency so that way they can unilaterally go to war. Now, guys, you're probably saying in the comment section, you're probably a little bit confused by this. That right there has always been the end game. It's the uniparty. The uniparty does not want anybody to have an actual mandate. By the way, what is a mandate? A mandate is not the amount of votes you have. The mandate is the amount of representatives you have on your side to implement a plan. Let me go ahead and explain this right to you too as well while we're on the topic. In 2024, the United States Senate map is going to be a ridiculous Senate map for Democrats to actually defend. Let me go ahead and name off some of the seats. John Tester, Montana. He's dead, Democrat. Sherrod Brown, Democrat, Ohio, dead. Kristen Sinema, Arizona. She's not going to get her base. You got a Senate seat in Nevada that's probably going to be lost as well. That's 4 Democrat Party seats right there that are gone. Who else? Oh, that's right. New Hampshire could possibly flip Republican. Amy Klobuchar, she may be stepping down. She's not exactly popular in the state of Minnesota, especially since it came out that she was the attorney or the district attorney that allowed Derek Chauvin to go. She ain't getting the base. There's 6. Michigan, battleground state, 7. Bob Casey, Pennsylvania, 8, battleground state. You know, if you have this shift in the African American community, if they really and truly are going to be voting Republican at this rate that we think they are, isn't it possible that now Tim Kaine, who's up for re-election in 2024, is it possible that now he's under fire? That's 9. What else do you have? Oh, yeah, that's right. We actually have some more senates up for grab. That's right. Bernie Sanders. If he doesn't get his whole base, that's possibly 10 seats. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Right now, Zeldin is surging in New York. What if New York actually flips the state legislation? Do you think maybe Gillibrand, that right there is what, 10 or 11 so far? That's a lot of Senate seats. And there are actually more Senate seats to go along with that, including Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. That's a state that's getting redder. I mean, Colorado, you never know. You may have an extremely low depressive turnout year. Also, New Mexico, that's a lot of Senate seats for Democrats to try to defend. So, yes, as you guys can see, the uniparty is trying to keep things at bay so that way they can bipartisanly screw us over. So this is the reason why you guys need to get out there and vote for primarily America First candidates. And right now, 2022, this is where it kind of worked. People got America First candidates to the nomination process, and these America First candidates are doing a lot better. Also, something else too. Taking back state and local legislations is more important because it controls your day-to-day lives. So I want to go ahead and say to you guys, good job. I'm proud of every single one of you. I hope you guys got there and actually voted these people out. But I want you to understand something right quick. This fight is not over with because in 2024, guess what? The middle finger has got to be a lot bigger because we got to get more America First candidates in those spots before next thing you know, we end up with a bunch of McConnells and a bunch of Lindsey Grahams. Guys, John Claymore, if you like this content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section. I'll see you. I'm not like everybody else.